All right. Travis, are you in the room? Think I saw you here.
Yes, sir. Good
Hey,
afternoon.
welcome.
How are
Welcome,
y'all?
welcome. Glad you could join us. Where are you calling in from, Travis?
Let me go Kansas today.
All right. All right. Well, we look forward to hearing from you. This is going to
Home
be good.
base. So,
This is going to be good. So,
all right.
um yeah, thanks everybody. And again, if you need to take a bathroom break, grab a snack, whatever. Selena brought me some yogurt here a little bit ago. We just roll from one speaker to the next, and we'll keep going till right at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We will have some more informal Q&A after the recording's cut for just a few minutes afterwards. So if you've got burning questions, stick around. We'll do our best to answer them and set you up for success for tomorrow.
First off, thanks, Jared Selena, for inviting me to come to this event. I've been on the last few hours here listening to a lot of different things, and it's really encouraging to see and hear and understand, that there are many different struggles, challenges, opportunities, and successes, no matter where you are in the world or in the country. So I feel pretty blessed and honored to be a part of this group, or at least be able to speak to the group. I'm going to keep this as less sales pitchy as absolutely possible and more just education today. So it may look like there's a lot of crap here, but it's more because what we know and what we don't know are typically outweighing each other depending upon how we are using products and how we are visualizing what we do and then actually doing those things in the field or in the ranch at the ranch itself. So to kind of start this thing off, if I can do it correctly. There we go. Give you an idea, I serve as the VP of Sales for Biodel Ag based out of Maricopa, Arizona. Been with them for a little over a year and a half, but my career has been spent entirely and grounded in agriculture, everything from managing a 40,000 head feed yard to multiple feed mills in Kansas, Arkansas, and Tennessee, all the way to working in roughly 35 to 37 different states with both farmers and ranchers, everything from wheat, corn, and soy to potatoes, strawberries, almonds, carrots, onions, whatever you could think of. So I've been very fortunate to see a lot of the country and a lot of the struggles, as well as as a lot as the operations and I guess just overall vision of agriculture as a whole. And what I tell folks that typically don't get out of the state of Kansas very often is that the problems and the opportunities are the same. They might cost more per acre and they might make you more per acre, but they're very much similar and everybody's facing the same issues. And part of my goal as somebody grounded in this is to find tools that are more sustainable in nature, but also utilizing nature to work with nature. As I think a lot of folks on this call can probably attest to the fact that chemical agriculture has really ruined a lot of things, whether it be the soil or the species that are out there, or even the pocketbooks of those who are utilizing them on a day-to-day basis. And part of this conversation today is going to be a lot of education on some of the new things that are out there, but actually it's pretty old school. Just like a lot of more sustainable and regenerative based practices, a lot of these things have been done for hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years, and they're just becoming cool again. But they have a monumental impact on specific parts of agriculture itself. So with that, excuse me, a little bit about Biodel Ag's vision, and we're not going to spend much time here, but we're really focusing on enhancing soil health and productivity, scaling sustainable, scalable solutions, a farmer-centric based innovation thought process, as well as an opportunity and a drive for resilient agriculture for now and for the future. Every year is different, and we can see that in spades, whether it be from an environmental standpoint to commodity pricing standpoint to markets to cost of land, cost of equipment, cost of whatever it may be. There is always a challenge every single year, and no year is the same. So this keeps it interesting, but also allows us to, as individuals and people within the industry, to communicate as well as collaborate on different ways to solve problems, and then obviously increase dollars and cents per acre by looking further than just yield. Yield's always going to be king in some folks' mind, but that's typically not the answer anymore, because there's many people so dedicated to that yield number that it runs their lives. Whereas if you're looking at yield, that's great. But if you're looking at cutting expenses, operating costs, increasing efficiencies, any of those things, the technology is coming right along with that, specifically in the machinery side, to data analytics, to artificial intelligence, all those things. But most of the issues are now product driven, and resistance is happening. Non-efficiencies are happening. So you can spend all the money in the world on many of these items, but if they're not working, then it really doesn't matter. So what we're going to focus on today is something very, very simple. And we're going to be utilizing a thought process here of something that is as old as 1880. I know that takes a long way back, but the more you learn about it, the better off you're going to be in, going forward. But what we want to do is we want to utilize specific things that are proven in the field, but also solve tough problems. And those may not be the same in everybody's area, but they're going to be different every year as well. How can you make low risk investments with a strong ROI? Easy to implement, integrate, reducing labor and input costs, and then versatile, that we want to be utilizing things that are meeting many growers' needs. You want something that's highly effective and efficient in application, fits into grower practices, it's scalable and it's stable and compatible with any crop protection or nutrient mix that you throw out there. A lot of the issues today that we see specifically in the bio world is shelf life, stability, pH. You may be putting something out there, but you don't really know if it's alive. And that's specific to many products. And it's not anything that anybody's doing wrong. It's just part of the evolution of the system. So with that, I'm going to give you a real high-level brief on the two products that we have, and then we're going to get really deep into something very specific. So silver stem and sequester are what we focus on. And I want to be very clear about that, is that we're a small company, but we are harnessing something that nobody else has. And what's really cool about that is that it all stems from the desert. High elevation, zero water, high stress, everything that you could think of to create something that the good Lord put out there that has monumental impacts no matter how you use it. So when you're utilizing something like Parthenium argentatum, which is for common language called Waiuli, it's been around for a long time. And when you take something from the desert that has been through every single stress point you could think of and you apply it to something else, those genetics, those things start to carry on, and those things start to improve stress tolerance, enhance yield and quality, using lower rates for cost-effective applications, increasing nutrient uptake, all the things that we want to do as creating a more resilient system as a whole. So again, not going to spend much time here. I just want to tell you this is where we are. We don't have 755 different products. We have two, and they're all based around desert-based plants. So using nature to work with nature. So I want to go back just a few years, 1880. The plant Parthenium argentatum was discovered in Texas and Mexico. So if you are driving a tractor today, if you happen to own a wetsuit, if you have flown in an airplane, or rode in a NASCAR or Formula One car recently, the rubber that is in that specific piece of equipment was made with this plant. So back in 1880, during World War II, the U.S. was searching for more sustainable and natural sources of rubber. This specific plant was discovered, and they were only using the top half. So it has a very high stress complex to it. And that's why you see that most of these uses for it are going to be high stress situations. Exclusively, it's used very heavy in Formula One cars. So it's a really unique plant, and it takes 6 years to grow, to fully mature, and to harvest. So your companies like Bridgestone, Firestone, Michelin, they all have plots of this out in the desert, where again, it takes 6 years to grow. It doesn't like water, but it also grows at the same time. So we can take the top half of that, send it to rubber production, and then we take the bottom half, which is the root system. We take that specific compound, grind it, extract it, and then we pull all the nutrients out of it. So it's a really unique plant for all the different aspects, but it's been around forever. And again, we're taking old school and making it new school, because you're taking something that is supremely stressed all the time of its life, And now you can take that and enhance other things with it because it forces the plant to do specific items. And we'll get into that as well. So back in 2015, the work that we had done was patented through UC Davis. It was actually studied as a biopesticide to begin with because it had excellent results on nematodes, aphids, lygus, and whitefly. And then we developed it as a true biostimulant, and now it's being utilized on over 1 million acres in different ways. And then also we have patents on it that's within 5 different countries. So this also grows naturally in Australia, but it's not used in this way. So there are many ways to skin this cat, but the good thing is that it's not just a US-based system. It also has opportunities in other countries. So what makes this unique? When we look at the extract that comes off of these root systems, it's full of amino acids. So you have 10 different amino acids that are highly traceable through that extract. It has polyamines, organic acids, sugars, alcohols, nucleotides, derivatives, minerals, and then other compounds. In total, there's 225 different molecules and compounds that come off of this root system, which is just it's asinine in many instances. But that's what makes it also unique, is because when you start looking at how agriculture has developed, we're always looking at what's the next best yield, what genetic potential can we shove into this corn plant, what can it do to avoid white mold or tar spot or navel orange worm or whatever it may be, depending upon your area. We're always trying to add yield, but we're not really trying to add the resistance side of this or the resilient side of it. And typically through abiotic stresses, we suppress genetics, and then genetics equal less yield. Well, what if we could unlock those genetics through just simply adding extract to a plant and then expressing those genetics at the same time? So when we started looking into this, we contacted a researcher at Texas A&M and said, okay, we're going to give you this product. We want you to run genetic sequencing on what happens 24 hours through a week, and then how that affects the plant's specific genetic suppression as well as expression as you move through a system and as you move through a specific point in a plant's life. So when we did that, we treated these plants. We treated pepper plants because those are pretty easy. They have over 36,000 different genetic expressions that they could bring out. And through that, we were able to find a few really interesting things. And those were just directly compared to non-treated plants. We improved the genes that were turned on, specifically in ethylene production, as well as abiotic stress reduction, oxidative defense, and ROS detoxifying genes, a large number of kinases, transcription, cell wall synthesis, and PGR effect, as well as a secondary metabolite-related production. Now, this is where we're going to get really deep. When we start thinking about sugar transportation and cell wall synthesis and cell wall division and cell wall destruction, there's specific chemicals in this world that are used very heavily that are supposed to do that very thing for its mode of action. So when you start thinking about that, sugar transport is very unique, right? So whether you're looking at utilizing a herbicide, whether you're utilizing something that's trying to increase Brix inside a plant, whether it be wheat, corn, soybeans, strawberries, almonds, any of those, head lettuce, whatever it may be, that just has a compounding effect for the plant, right? It's healthier. It's going to be more robust. It's going to ward off pests. It's going to increase nutrient mobility all the way through as well. So there's lots of things to think about as you start to consider sugar transportation. Also, more photosynthesis, which is also the goal, always the goal for any production system. So what makes Silver Stem, which is the main root extract product that we utilize, what makes it unique? This is just a little bit of overstimulation from my side of it, but we're looking at what kinases do, the transcription factors, the amino acid complex, as well as cell wall synthesis, cell wall division, and growth. So again, that's just a kind of a breakdown of the last slide, but it's just a little bit more enhanced view of why we believe Silver Stem is doing what it's doing inside the plant itself. So here's the boring stuff where we're talking about the actual trials. Again, not going to spend much time here, but we've been doing this for about 10 years now, And based on the studies, we've got 166 trials with an 85% win rate and 12% increase in yield. Again, I'm not going to focus on yield today. So when you think about what the issues are today, I saw this article here recently, came out of West Tennessee, and the headline of the article and the quote inside the article was pretty interesting. It said, "We're going to run out of money before we run out of pigweed." And it's true, right? So you harvest corn and then you have pigweed inside that field. That stuff's going to be there 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, depending upon what the moisture is each year, how well you got it killed or did not get it killed. Did it pollinate? Did it create seed pods? Did it do any of these things? And that's just one specific weed, right? But I had one grower come to me the other day and said, if we were able to get rid of pigweed or at least control them, we would gain an extra 5 loads of corn. And that's just simply from a competition standpoint. And the fact that you're not having to go over the top of that cornfield multiple times, or beans or whatever it may be, to try to control that weed. Plains, Texas, there was a grower that we're now working with the last 3 years. He was spraying his cotton every 3 weeks. Why? Because the pigweed was out of control and he couldn't get a handle on it. And that was costing him a massive amount of money. So how can we stop that? Well, let's see if we can't kill the pigweed from the first shot and then allow the cotton to outshadow or outgrow the actual pigweed, and then it would go away. But what he said is that his Bayer Monsanto rep came out and said, I'm going to take some samples of the current species or the current strain that you have out here. I'll come back and visit you in 2 years, and then hopefully I'll have a solution. Well, 2 years is kind of a long time, right? And typically that's not going to bode well for most farmers' appetites and ranchers' appetites this specific cropping cycle, right? And we need control now, and we need to understand how to control, but do it in the right way, where we can use less herbicide, which is less detrimental to the soil, to your microbiology, to all those different things, but also get the kill or control that you're after from the very beginning. Now, I want to be very clear. This root extract it's not a herbicide. It is an enhancer. But what we do know is that when you apply this specific root extract to plants, it forces the phloem of the plant to transport material. So in most cases, the phloem is going to take the herbicide down, or it stops at the very cell wall, and then it just makes the weed mad, and then it starts to grow from the bottom out. Well, when you blow the phloem open and you express specific genetics in the plant itself, not only are you causing so much cell wall division that the plant can't survive, but also, I will go back to the ethylene compound that we talked about in the very beginning. You explode ethylene in the plant and the root system. So now you're from the root to the tip, and the plant has no other mode of action than to die. So the mode of action of the original created herbicides, Roundup, 2,4-D, dicamba, Liberty, Ally, Remedy, I don't care what it is, that mode of action now has a purpose again, and the plant can't force it out because the extract itself is expressing or is causing the targeted weed to express those genes. There's nothing that plant can do about it. So it's a really fascinating concept that we're learning more and more about every single day. Actually, I've had 3 phone calls today on soybeans, corn, and rice, where we're applying it with the normal-based herbicides, and all of a sudden they're able to control the weeds that they've never been able to control before. They've coming back over and over again trying to get ahead of it, and they've never been able to do it, where it's taken one application and the weeds are gone. They aren't coming back. So when you take weeds out of the equation, that not only equals less money per acre from a standpoint of application, but it also equals less competition. So now your targeted species or your dominant species can actually do what they're supposed to do. So with that, I'll give you a little background on what we did. And there's a lot of words on this page, so I apologize. But the scope of the work that we originally tried in 2024 on about 9,000 acres was to add this 2 ounces of this root extract to any type of herbicide used and the targeted species of which, right? So at the first point, we were looking at targeting species like volunteer milo, bindweed, pigweed, foxtail barley, barnyard grass, mimic grass, Johnson grass, and many others. We added the herbicide, or added the root extract to specific herbicides such as Ally, 2,4-D, or Saber, Liberty, dicamba, Roundup, glyphosate, Tordon, gramoxone, stare down, and many more. So this is just your common common-based herbicide mix, but it's what is typically used on a day-to-day basis in the industry today. So to give you an idea of what the cost of that product was when we added it to the herbicide without making any changes to actual application rate was about $2.20 an acre. So it's very, very minimal in the standpoint of what you're actually getting. So here's a bit of the first results that we got. I mentioned our buddy down in Plains, Texas, B Square Farms. He called me about a week after application. He said, I don't know what this crap is, but you need to come down here and look at this, because we split a bunch of pivots, applied our mixture on irrigated growing cotton, and it is to the row where the pigweed is dead and the pigweed is still alive and thriving. So I drove down, I stood on the top of my pickup, we looked at all of his fields, and he was right. Everything that he sprayed when he added that root extract to it was dead as a doornail. He took the pigweed away. Now that was important for a lot of reasons, right? Because I mentioned he's spraying every 3 weeks. That's a lot of money. That's 7 to 10 times across that field every single season just to get ahead of the pigweed. We sprayed it once, and it's gone. So you think about the dollars and cents saved in an area where water is an issue, where nutrients are an issue, where everything is rising and costs are going up, and we were able to save him $40, $50, $60, $70, $80 an acre, plus less herbicide, less damage to the soil, less wear and tear on a vehicle, less meat in the seat. He's not out there in those toxic chemicals all the time. So we just did a whole bunch of different things. We didn't really understand what we did yet. So to understand this a little bit further, what were we looking for? We're looking at old and new nodules. How did we damage that plant, the pigweed specifically? And as I mentioned, we're looking at genetic expression. We're looking at ethylene. We're looking at cell wall division, which the original design for Roundup was cell wall division. So much sugar that it bursts the plant, right? And it can't survive. Well, over time, resistance has obviously overtaken that mode of action. And now we can reverse that. So when you're flooding auxins into the cell walls and you're flooding sugar into the cell walls, specifically to the point where the plant can't survive, specifically your targeted species, it has no other choice but to go away. And you're killing it from the ground up. So currently, the silver stem side of this is being applied on about 200,000 acres in eastern Colorado, western Kansas, western Oklahoma, West Texas, New Mexico, and then also south central Kansas and a little bit in Oklahoma or central Oklahoma. So where pigweeds are an issue, this is where it's having its biggest effect. And what's really interesting is that we decided to try this from a reducing Roundup. So I met with an individual up in O'Neill, Nebraska, right on the South Dakota border. His grower was adamant that they had to use 64 ounces of Roundup just to get a kill on the noxious and invasive grasses in his corn. We took it to 32 ounces, added the 2 ounces of the root extract, and it was to the line in the field where it was dead and alive. So just think about the dollars and cents we saved there, plus he had to come back and spray it again. So again, we're taking nature to fight nature, but also amplifying what's out there and what can be done or what's already available to somebody on the market, right? So here's where it gets into the little ranching side of it. So my background and growing up, I lived here in the tall grass prairie. Serratia lespedeza is a real issue. It's a noxious grass or a noxious weed brought in, I believe by China or from China, but it was originally brought in for erosion control. But now all it does is just wreak havoc on most ranchers here in the Flint Hills. It's a woody species that absolutely can decimate a pasture. Cattle won't eat it once it gets past, 2.5, 3 feet tall. The tannins are really high in it, and it's just woody and shrubby and gross. They'll eat it when it's small and succulent, but once it gets past a certain point, they won't touch it. So what we did was we decided to look at what it would do on a noxious species that typically is sprayed twice a year. So now you're treating something in the spring with Remedy and in the fall with Escort. And typically it works, burns it, but then it'll come back because the root systems are so vast that it just pops up another one somewhere else. Well, this summer we decided to trial this on with utilizing just some 2,4-D and Roundup, spot spray some specific items, and within day one to 196 hours later, it absolutely destroyed Serratia lespedeza. which I don't know if anybody on the call is living in the tall grass prairie or has any experience with this weed, but this typically doesn't happen. So we're on to something here, and we're going to learn more about it, but we're just trying to figure out what the opportunities are for helping control these things that typically are more detrimental than folks realize. And when you start talking about getting your pasture back or getting your field back, where you're not competing with these things that are constantly destroying yield, costing money, all these different things, there's some opportunity there for everybody to really plan for into the future. So again, these are fun things, but we feel that this is going to only get better and better. And again, when you start talking about nature with nature, stuff just makes sense. So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit here and talk a little bit more about nutrient efficiency, sugar transportation, et cetera. But as I mentioned, we're going to make a really big jump from the ranch to strawberries. So these specific strawberries were in Ventura,
Just
California.
a quick question here, Travis.
Yep.
There was a question in the chat about common cheatgrass and invasive rye, and if John L., if you want to add some context for that, you could unmute or raise your hand, and we can have you ask. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that as far as
Oh, you're asking me. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to see. I was going to see if John L. wanted to add context for the question. She's the one that asked it. So effectiveness in wheat with common cheat grass and invasive rye.
Anything that is on label, we have had 100% success with controlling. And again, that's a very high number. But if you're on label and you're focusing on those specific invasive species, we've been able to control them. The call I got this morning was on rice, and that was barnyard grass, water grass, mimic grass. There was another type of hybrid grass that they've never been able to control, and it's to the line where it is dead and where it's not. And actually, what's really interesting is the rice was 2 to 3 inches taller in the treated area versus the untreated area, because you've taken that competition away, and now it's densing, it's getting more dense, it's getting thicker and greener, and it's growing out of it. So there's lots of compounding effects. But yeah, we haven't found a weed yet that adding this to your herbicide mix won't take care of. So again, and that's a big statement, but we haven't been proven wrong yet. So it's just really cool when you're talking about genetics and expression. So,
okay.
But thanks for stopping me there.
Yeah, that's all right. She asked a follow-up question. What's the time frame? Is it similar to other spraying?
Yeah. Stick with your normal time frame of when your application could be, whether it's a pre or a post. As long as you have leaf surface out there, you're able to do something with it. Yeah.
And so I think Brad also asked a question. I'll just field them here, but regenerative farming with 2,4-D and Roundup, question mark, right? We get it. If we're trying to get away from chemicals, will this product help grass, foliar? That's always a question, right? If it's a stopgap, can you speak to that, how this can help with the regenerative and reduction and hopefully the elimination of chemicals?
Yeah, well, and so that was part of why we've been doing these experiments specifically with Roundup, because it's the most villainated or villainized specific chemical out there, right? It's in front of all types of litigation, and like I said in earlier slide, we were able to talk a grower down from using 64 ounces per acre, which is 3 times the limit, and is crazy. And we took him back down to 32 ounces. And then the next time, if it comes back next year, we'll go down to 22 ounces. So yeah, we want to draw this down year over year so we totally don't have any weeds to play with, right? But you have to think about what the seed bank is in the soil, and some seed banks last a lot longer than others. So if you have excess moisture, there's most likely going to be some form of weed out there, but this should get you to a point where you can you dramatically reduce your herbicide over time and then eventually get rid of it, right? Because then your soil has become so effective in nutrient mobilization, and whatever you're growing and trying to expand upon, they're going to be the ones taking up the lion's share of the nutrients, and then shade out or weed out the weeds that are taking up those vital nutrients and precious nutrients in the system, no matter what the system is. right? My dad's been in the NRCS for 35 years. I don't think they still know why Serratia lespedeza is so prominent and what it's taking advantage of because it's such an invasive weed. And so my goal, and he's a pretty staunch chemical user on this, is I gave him some as a like go try it and see what happens. My goal is to see how we can control that more in a ranching situation where you're not putting toxic chemical out there with your cattle or your goats or your sheep or whatever it may be, and we can get rid of some of these things and create less competition. So,
Okay, I think that's pretty
good
well
question.
covered it. Well, let's see. John, I'll ask another follow-up question. Hopefully, we're not getting too far off into the weeds.
No.
To have piggy bank with some there does it, I think she's asking, she probably asked her right and I read it wrong. Does it piggyback with something else, or is it something that can be sprayed independently?
It needs to piggyback with an active, right? That's the whole point. If it's not piggybacked with an active herbicide, then it's just going to have a PGR effect and it's going to make whatever you're spraying really, really happy. But if you're off your on label with an active AI that is specifically designed to do whatever it's going to do inside that plant, this exposes that and accentuates this until the plant can't handle it.
Okay. Okay. All right. I think we've
Great
got
question.
those okay, David's gonna ask this one. I'm sorry, you might need to alter your presentation here slightly, Travis, but
It's okay.
hope we don't feel like we're firing back at you too hard here.
Nope.
What's the bottom line with glyphosate? Is it honestly linked to cancer? Shoo, open a can of worms there. Thanks, David.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that answer. Last question. Because I don't
Do
know
your own
what I don't
research,
know
huh?
there.
Draw your own conclusions. I would say go study
Yeah.
Zach Bush. Yeah, it's probably a little outside the context for what we're doing here, but Zach Bush, he addresses that quite well. He's a medical doctor. If you haven't heard of him, ZACH. That's how you spell his name, Bush. And so, yeah, that's we'll let you go back to your presentation. Thanks, Travis, for the divergence there for a second.
No, that's okay. And I knew this was going to be a sensitive subject today. So this is something that everybody's fighting, right? No matter where you are. But my answer to the question, the last one, would be the less we can use, the better off we're all going to be. And
Absolutely. Right.
And I don't think there's ever a world, to be very clear and honest, where herbicides go away, right? There's going to be specific situations where things have to happen at some point. But if you can be effective with it and get away with as less as possible, and only use it as a tool, not a Band-Aid or a fix-all, then I think we're moving in the right direction from regenerative or sustainable based thinking. So unless you're going full organic, that's a whole nother story. So.
Yeah. And that we may have a follow-up question on that one as well, but we'll let you go through and
no problem. So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit from a nutrient efficiency standpoint. When adding this to strawberries, our goal here, and I don't know how much folks know about the strawberry production, is essentially the first 8 to 12 weeks of harvest are to pay the bills. And if you can get past 12 to 14 to 16 weeks of harvest, that's when those guys actually start making money. But most of the time, the market moves or the status of the plant starts to drop off dramatically, so it just simply can't produce enough as it becomes picked further or harder and harder. The weather patterns change. A lot of things happen. So what we did was we went out last 8 weeks of the season, and I started applying these products to see what we could do to extend at a minimum 2 weeks. And what we found was really interesting. And we went out and took these pictures, but if you look at the top left picture, the farmers are always going to say more flowers equals more money. And if you look at that picture, the top picture, all the little the speckles out there, those are more flowers, right? These fields are a 2-track apart. They're looking in north-south direction. So there's zero difference in soil type. There's zero difference in farming practices, anything. It's all done by hand. It's all done by the same crew. Only addition was adding this root extract to this specific system to see what it could capitalize on. And in the same light, in the bottom right-hand corner, we just talked about weeds, but if weeds are able to sit out there and take advantage of nutrients, while the regular plant or the dominant species is not able to take advantage of those nutrients, well, guess what? Weeds are going to come in, and they're going to come in hard. And these are always typically hand weeded, but these had not been hand weeded in the past 6 weeks. And the difference between one side of the road to the other was stark, where the strawberries were treated and nutrients were mobilized in a way that the strawberries could actually use them. The weeds didn't stand a chance, and they got shaded out and they died. They just didn't come back. Now, no herbicide was sprayed here, of course, but it was just simple nutrient mobility and nutrient efficiency of that system itself that allowed those strawberries to take advantage of everything that was put out with the silver stem or the root extract itself. So what did it equal? It equaled an additional 5 picks at 84 boxes an acre. That ain't bad, right? For most people don't know, an extra box per acre is a good thing. We decreased the nutrient needs by up to $64 an acre. But the real big one was we increased bricks by 1.5%, which is massive in the strawberry market. That's what people want. They want the high sugar content. They want that high quality of a berry, the consistency of a berry to go back into and sell it not only domestically but internationally. So again, there's a lot to unpack here, but what I'm getting at here is that not only do we create a more efficient system, but we were able to allow the strawberries to last longer, and they were able to capture more market opportunity, even past season, and that allowed more dollars and cents back into that grower's pocket, again, by using nature to do that. The next one is a little bit more interesting to explain, and I don't want this to sound like we have a silver bullet here by any means, but what we do know is that simple things like sugar transportation, increasing bricks not only in the produce themselves, but also the plant itself can have huge benefits on overall plant health, pest deterrence, as well as yield itself. So what we did was we took some head lettuce in King City, California, and right now they're facing massive thrip and red aphid populations, and they will decimate a field, and it will be within 72 to 146 or 176 hours, the field will look totally different. Well, typically herbicides that are not herbicides, but insecticides that are used, it's been about a 10-year period now where they're becoming less and less and less and less effective, where they're having to spray, and then they'll come back and spray again, and then they'll come back and spray again. And if you know anything about mites and aphids, they're really good hiders. They'll get inside that leaf, so the insecticide or the miticide won't ever touch them. So what we did was we applied this root extract through chemigation and through a foliar basis. We bumped the bricks enough that the aphids went from one side of the field right over to the other side of the field. Again, 30 feet apart. They didn't touch where we applied it. So to prove that out, what you're looking for is the midrib of these plants as well as the overall root health. And you can see definitively that in the midrib itself of where silverstem was treated, there's no bug bites. It's healthier. It's not being degraded at all. And that aphid and thrip has no effect on it. And again, these were 30 feet apart right across the row, right across the 2-track, excuse me. So what we know is that bumping bricks and creating a healthier system ultimately has a monumental impact on everything down the line, right? Now, we're not claiming that this is an insecticide. We're just claiming that a PGR-based effect has the ability to create a healthier system, but then also ward off massive pests that there are no answers to at this current moment. So it's a really interesting study that we're moving through, but it just tells you the power of what nature can do with nature. I'm going to keep going back to that because this is what this is. So to give you an idea, we're not, obviously I've talked about California and Kansas a lot here, but this is where we are spaced out across the country from Montana to Texas to Florida to California and everywhere in between. So like I said in the very beginning, I've been blessed and honored to work across the country with a lot of different folks and try to solve a lot of different issues, or at least present solutions or tools to those issues. And again, we're going to learn more and more every single day. But what I guess my overall goal here with this talk is that in the next few years, you're going to see a lot of research on roots, root extracts, plant extracts, different things that have been sheltered or been, I guess, hidden from specific viewpoints or public viewpoints that we're learning more and more about. And the beautiful thing is they've been around forever, right? And this is a great way to start incorporating these things into a daily operation and really cut costs, but also improve the health of the soil, improve the health of the people that are consuming the products coming off the soil because there's less chemical. Also, the improving the beef, the lambs, the goats, whatever's being utilized in these specific situations to get rid of chemical. And again, like I said earlier, chemicals are a tool, and tools sometimes have to be used just like iron is a tool. And I know that that might be a controversial statement, but in the end, I've seen 35, 40-year no-tillers have to use a strip till every once in a while just to break up some of the corn stalks. Why? Because genetics of corn right now don't allow for the microbes to break it down. So there are tools that have to be used, and that's what our goal is to present simplified tools that make people's lives a little bit easier, but also cut costs and make sure that we're driving more sustainable practice every day and every single year. So with that, I kind of blew through my presentation just over 40 minutes, but this is if you want to know more about what we do, where we are, how we get through or how we do a lot of our research and more about the company, this is my contact information, and always willing and able to take a phone call, a text message, whatever comes best for your guys' line of communication. But I just want to state that I've been in this industry for quite a while, not as long as a lot of folks on this call, and dealt with everything from biologicals to cattle to feed quality to anything. And this might be one of the most exciting things I've ever been a part of, because there's so much unknown. But what we do know is that we have to do better by the soil. We have to do better by what we're doing every single day. And this is a great way to get into this and utilize something that was created for a purpose. And now we can use it to solve other things within the industry that there are no solutions to currently. So with that, I guess I'll back off for just a second and stop word vomiting everywhere. But I guess if it's Selena, should we take questions if there are any, or give some time back? I don't want to talk too much if I don't have to, and go over my time either.
All right. Well, thank you, Nick, or Travis, sorry, I'm looking at the next name, for getting on here and sharing. Really appreciate your time here today. There was a question. They asked if this product had been used on woody berries like blueberries, and what the effect was.
Yeah, woody berries have been very successful. Cane berries, woody berries, strawberries, blueberries, everything from everywhere from Michigan all the way to California, as well, have had really, really great results with that. Increasing yield, increasing size, quantity of size, consistency of size, and then obviously Brix itself. That doubles down to grapes, that doubles down to almonds, pistachios, everything in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, well, thank you. That's, there's a lot of people on the journey and far into it or in the middle or just getting started. And I think this could be a valuable tool for some moving away from some of the things they'd like to. And this may be a middle of the road for them. And so we appreciate your time today, and you've got all of your information up there. So if you guys need to connect with Travis, you can take a screenshot of that and reach out to him. So thank you so much, Travis. We really appreciate having on.
You bet. Thank you. Appreciate you.